I feel like as filmmakers, we've had this pipe dream of being able to shoot actual projects directly on our phones without anybody noticing. As I was watching Apple's keynote this year, it got me thinking, why do we even have that pipe dream? And I think the reason is because it gets at one of our core desires as filmmakers to avoid making compromises. Now, when I say the word compromise, as a filmmaker, you might have kind of a visceral reaction. Every decision we make is based on a variety of factors that are unique to the project we're working on. We make important decisions that are essential to the creative vision of the project, which leads to necessary compromises in order to fulfill that goal. These compromises vary, but they are a necessary part of creating something within limitations like budget, time, gear, crew members, etc. The reason we as filmmakers are so excited about the iPhone 15 Pro is that it promises to eliminate two of the major compromises filmmakers have to make when choosing to shoot a project on this device. Here's the paradox about shooting a project on the iPhone. The very things that make the iPhone conducive to the project are often outweighed by the compromises that eliminate its viability for use, forcing us to make other compromises in order to shoot with something other than the iPhone. So let me just give you a quick example. Recently, I DP'd and shot a short film on the iPhone 14 Pro, directed and written and produced by my good friend Courtney. There were a variety of factors that led to our decision to shoot this project on the iPhone 14 Pro. Since we were working with a limited budget, we had to shoot the entire film in one day. And since we were shooting in the Joshua Tree, Palm Springs area, we had to have a limited crew of 7 people. We were planning on shooting in a handful of locations throughout the day, including 2 scenes that take place inside a car driving, so we had to be very quick and nimble. But at the same time, we wanted the film to be dynamic and cinematic and to be able to rig the camera in different ways. Like, you could never do that at the pace that we're doing it today with a normal camera. So it's enabling us to get a lot more creative angles and stuff. Hopefully you're starting to understand the complexities of producing a low-budget short film and how the iPhone really does seem like the perfect tool for this job.
Want Baker take 3?
Yeah, it's looking good. With the iPhone, we're able to utilize Moment's system of lenses and accessories to shoot in anamorphic. This simplicity made it possible to move between rigging very quickly, and I was able to do it mostly without the help of an AC. And honestly, this was a very freeing experience compared to my other shoots, shooting on a full cinema rig. Plus, to be honest, we just kind of wanted the challenge and the self-imposed limitation of shooting on the iPhone to spark even more creativity. However, we had to make significant compromises in terms of the image and workflow because of these decisions. First of all, I knew I wanted to shoot in the best quality possible, which on the iPhone would be ProRes. But these files are extremely large, and we knew that we wouldn't have time throughout the day to offload the footage from the camera because of the incredibly slow Lightning port at USB 2.0 speeds. This meant that I would have to shoot everything in HEVC H.265, which is a compressed format with much lower quality. This way, we wouldn't have to worry at all about storage capacity, but at the cost of our image quality. Being a colorist, I also preferred to shoot in a log format in order to have maximum flexibility in post, but the log format that Filmmaker Pro gives you is pretty subpar and very difficult to work with. So I settled on shooting in a regular natural profile, still with Filmic Pro so that we could access the manual exposure controls, but even still, I couldn't turn off the automatic tone mapping, which really made it a struggle, especially when shooting with variable NDs. Finally, since the iPhone has no active cooling and we were shooting in a hot desert and inside a hot car with no AC, we dealt with a lot of overheating issues. The phone overheated mid-take a couple times, forcing us to reset and try again, and we had to store it in a cooler between takes, which cost us precious time and added extra stress on the already tight shooting schedule. Overall, I learned a ton by shooting this short film on the iPhone 14 Pro, and even despite the challenges, I'm actually really happy with how it turned out, and I know that it wouldn't have been possible with anything else. The small things really make a big difference in terms of not having to compromise. And I think that's why with the release of every new Pro iPhone, we get a little spark of inspiration and just wonder at what we could create with the new iPhone, because they're slowly eliminating the compromises that we have to make when using this as an actual filmmaking tool. Less compromise means more flexibility to execute a creative vision and less roadblocks along the way. Because here's the thing, we want the iPhone image to look gorgeous, and we actually want to use the iPhone as a tool as a filmmaker, but the complete control that we're asking for is something that we still don't necessarily have. I also think that there's kind of a battle being fought between Apple and professional artists, specifically filmmakers, where Apple wants to make everything more seamless and essentially invisible to the user, while filmmakers want to see every little detail and be in control of every aspect of the image capturing process. We get frustrated when we don't see or we don't have access to specific settings that we consider to be a creative decision and that we're used to having access to, while Apple considers those settings to be too in the weeds to a normal user. This is definitely a deal breaker for a lot of filmmakers or people wanting to shoot video on the iPhone. And for people who do have the courage and the patience to shoot on iPhone, it still causes a frustrating creative experience while you're using it. I think it's interesting how Apple kind of markets and poses the iPhone as a no compromises type of filmmaking tool. But in our actual experience using it, we're faced with many often irritating and seemingly meaningless compromises that we're definitely not used to making. This isn't to say that the iPhone 15 Pro is not an incredible piece of technology. It definitely is. And I just wanted to share a few things that I'm personally excited about on the new iPhone 15 Pro and the 15 Pro Max. So first of all, we're getting log encoding for video with ACES support. Log encoding enables us to have more control over the final image in the color grade, and ACES support means that we should have an accurate documentation of the color space and transfer function used. Even though I don't typically use an ACES workflow in my color grading projects, I still think it's nice that Apple is adopting some sort of system. I'm also excited about the external SSD recording. If you've ever tried to grab files off of an iPhone and copy them to your hard drive, you know that it's kind of a cumbersome and irritating process to deal with. It also kind of results in a win-win, because if you shoot with an external SSD, you actually get access to shooting in 4K 60p instead of 4K 30 if you're recording directly into the iPhone. I'm also excited about the USB controller on the A17 Pro chip. This enables USB 3 support and USB 3 speeds, which enables you to copy the files off of the iPhone faster. So even if you're not using an SSD, you still have the option. I'm also excited to see how the dedicated ProRes engine works out. The best format to shoot video in on the iPhone is in ProRes, and hopefully this will make the iPhone more efficient and less prone to overheating if you're shooting outdoors or in a warmer environment. Lastly, the iPhone 15 Pro will feature a nanoscale coating on the lenses, which will reduce lens flaring, which we all know that the lens flares on the iPhones can be pretty ridiculous and disgusting looking. They also spent a lot of time talking about processing power for the GPU and the CPU cores on the actual A17 Pro chip. And these chips are getting so powerful, but unfortunately on the iPhone, we don't have access to the Pro apps, and it really is starting to feel like something that you would find in a MacBook Pro or a Mac Studio even. The portions where they talked about Pro video and the camera didn't really take up a whole lot of time in the keynote, and I still have some lingering questions that I would love to find out the answers for in the future. I'm wondering if they'll allow other apps access to the SSD when recording. Anything I can do to not use Filmic Pro, I would love. I'm also wondering if the log encoding will be only usable on the main camera and not accessible to other apps like Filmic Pro. But I'm worried about a situation where maybe they give us log encoding in the camera app, but they don't give us access to manual controls like shutter and ISO. I also really hope that they turn off the automatic tone mapping when you're recording in log, so that you're just getting a nice clean image from the sensor. Like I said, I'm always fighting the tone mapping, especially when trying to get a proper 180-degree shutter speed. I'm also wondering if they'll ever support timecode. Timecode is a big thing that I think a lot of companies are focusing on now, and I think that's great. It makes the process a lot faster. So honestly, when you look back it's amazing what Apple has accomplished with the iPhone 15 Pro, and I'm truly thankful for all of the innovations that I'm able to carry around in my front pocket. As filmmakers, we are used to making compromises in our creative process, but the compromises we've had to make when shooting on iPhones are ones that are easily avoidable when using any other camera. So it's nice to see the iPhone kind of catching up and eliminating a lot of those compromises that we've had to make in the past. Now, Apple is not a niche camera company that makes professional cinema cameras. They have a broad demographic that they're trying to appeal to. This includes photographers, filmmakers, gamers, artists, power users, or people who honestly just want the nicest phone. But as filmmakers, it's exciting because with every iteration of the Pro iPhones, including the iPhone 15 Pro, we get a tiny bit closer to the pipe dream that we've been asking for all along. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Evan Schneider, and I'm a professional colorist and cinematographer here in LA. I also sell color grading LUTs on my store, lutcompany.com. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.